And finally, the fifth point, how can we maintain this well? This is the key point for today. As I showed you earlier, my sales figures, right? The sales increased even more during the second cycle compared to the first. And over the course of 2 weeks, that first cycle grew significantly. How many people do you think maintained their rank, as I call it? I'm not talking about just achieving the nominal rank once when they first challenge for it. I'm talking about the people who maintained their rank during this first cycle. On my left side, 7 sales masters maintained their rank. On my right side, 5 sales masters maintained their rank. Usually on my right side, about 3 people maintained their sales master rank. But did that number increase? Yes, 2 more people were added. Why do you think that happened? Driving depth pile up. It was possible to maintain the rank because we went deeper and deeper down the line. How do you think I managed that myself? It's because we went deeper and deeper that people who could maintain their rank emerged. So, what does it all mean in the end? The Imperial Master said this. Don't just light a match, create a wildfire. You should always keep driving depth pile up. When you're told to start a fire at the base, people keep saying, "Hunt, sponsor, it's over," just because they have 1 or 2 people. They say one line is finished. And then that's it. That's why he said, please don't just light a match, create a wildfire. But that's true. Because people keep calling it a base fire, they think it's over with just 1 or 2 people, and then they just say, take care of it yourself, and don't even look back. No, everyone, you need to start a wildfire. What happens when you start a wildfire? It's really hard to put out, right? It needs to burn that fiercely so that even the partners who were withering away, the ones who gave me a hard time, the difficult partners, end up saying thank you. They come back saying, wow, that's hot, and realize, hey, this actually works. They come out thinking, I'm the problem, I'm the issue. This is for sure. You get what I mean, right? So what should you do? I told you that selection and focus are very important, right? Let me explain while drawing a picture. I'm telling you this so you can maintain things in a healthy way. Now I'm going to teach you how to keep the base fire burning. You know, for me personally, I have always maintained the position that I make it a point to focus my efforts on both ends of the court. Isn't that right? So how do I focus on both ends? There will be a line, right? Then at both ends, I have partner 1 and partner 2. It's not just anyone who does this. I personally give a full 80% of my effort to those people who are truly capable, who are genuinely willing to do it, and who are also deeply passionate about Atomy. So I don't pour my energy into the top. I tell them to take charge of the very bottom, the most difficult part. So what does it mean to pour 80% into the very bottom on both sides? That means the most points will go in there. Then, for the partners 1 and 2 at the bottom, I handle both lines myself. I have to connect both lines with my own network, but as time goes by, at this time, it may seem like the hardest period, but because the sponsor helped the most, when do you realize that this was actually the easiest time? You realize it when people start coming in further and further below. Those who realize this are the ones who, you know, the people who are currently receiving support right now. Those who are grateful for this and run together are the ones who have grown, but those who take it for granted. The sponsor below doesn't just keep dragging this person along, right? While supporting, they're always looking for someone further down, aren't they? So when someone new comes in below, you should grow together. But what happens to those who get complacent? They get weeded out. What happens when you get weeded out? They go around bad-mouthing their sponsor, saying they were abandoned. Then yes, you were abandoned. But it's your own foolishness. It really is foolishness. Why? Because you think, oh, they can't do it without me. That's why I say you should be grateful. People often don't realize that the best times are when things are still there. When things are turned upside down, that's actually the time you need to learn quickly. Do you understand what I mean? So what I do is I help the person at the very bottom who is determined to succeed become a semi-sales master. But I'm talking about someone who truly has the will. Maintaining this is not something you do carelessly. It's really difficult. As more people join under them and they get into the system, I nurture people who follow the exact steps that successful people in Atomy have taken. I don't just nurture anyone. Me neither. So what happens when things go like this? All the sales above get added up and you see how many points you get, right? You end up with 3 million points. On one side, the partners above here, right? Those partners will also have people under them, right? Partner 3 will also appear here and partner 4 will appear on both sides. So on the left side of partner 3, 3 million points will show up. And on the left side of partner 4 as well, 3 million points will show up. That means this person now has what they need to maintain their status. And they get a chance to challenge for sales master because one side is already complete, right? This way, it's much easier for you to maintain your status. That's why you shouldn't remove people from above or keep pushing them down to the bottom. Why? Because you're supporting all of this. To maintain sales master status in Korean won, you need to consistently generate sales of 20 million won. It's easy to do it once or twice, but how are you going to keep it up? You have to maintain at least 20 million won per month in Korean won. That's really impressive. Earning 2 million won a month as a sales master in Korea is not a small amount. 2 million won in Korean currency. So this is how I managed to maintain it. So as I nurtured the very bottom, what happened? As time goes by, the people above them also keep working steadily, and eventually someone who really wants to succeed emerges. Then what do I do with partners 3 and 4? Even within this group, I have several people. Although there are 3,000 members, I also have to make choices and focus within that group. Then I also provide 20% support to the right side of the person who wants to succeed. Why? Because it's hard for them to do it alone. So what happens with the support for partner 3? Oh, sponsor. Oh, thank you so much. That's how it works. Why? One side was finished, but now you're helping my other side too? Everyone, you really need to do this well. There are people who just ignore this and don't care. But for me, when it comes to the people at the very bottom, you know, the sales masters like this, it's not easy to maintain the sales master position. And if you just tell them to handle it on their own, they absolutely can't do it. So there needs to be a certain balance. But this ratio can be 20%, 30%, or even 40%, depending on the situation, your environment, culture, and the sales within that group can all affect the percentage. But usually, if you set the bottom at 80%, then the next level up on the right is set at 20%. I'm talking about point sponsorship here. If you put points at the top, it's called the promotion method, right? Points are meant to create synergy, so if you put them at the top, it causes a bottleneck. That's why I have to take on the most difficult part myself. That way, the partners above can work hard without conflict or complaints. Then, how many points will partner 1 above and partner 2 on the right receive? One side, 5.5 million points are showing up. So what happens then? It goes way beyond the sales company level. Then, for the person in position 1 here, since I always put 1 and 2 at the very top and I kept supporting both their left and right sides as I built downwards, the people I personally recruited know this because I helped them grow. So what happens then? They've grown to a certain extent. So now they're able to control at least one line on their own because time has passed, right? So what happens now? You shouldn't completely exclude people like this. Why? Because depending on their abilities, it might not always be possible for them to become a sales master or to create another sales master in their group. So in those cases, I provide support through product sponsorship or by accompanying them as a sponsor, taking care of them in that way. At the same time, I keep increasing my daily commission sales so that my rank is naturally maintained. But you might think this sounds difficult, right? It's hard at first. But once it becomes a habit over time, then it gets really easy. Why? It might seem like I'm taking on the hardest part at the very bottom, but since everything above that runs on its own, as the roots get deeper, eventually all the people above, as they get excited and fired up, all of that ends up connecting to my sales and my commissions. You know what I mean, right? Because people often ask, oh, Big Jang, Charlotte Master, when will I be able to make money with Atomy? How long do I have to keep investing? There are a lot of people like this. If you don't have a plan, you might think, isn't this just going to end up losing money? But if you know what you're doing, what happens? If you can clearly recognize your break-even point, you'll know, if things go like this at a certain moment, once I cross this line, it'll work out. You need to have that figured out. But how did the Imperial Master do it? That person had a super dream. So as long as they reached 50 million points on each side, regardless of rank, once they reached that, would there be partners making money or not? There will be more, right? So he thought, then I'm done, I've graduated. But that's the Imperial Master's personal goal. And you should set yours according to what suits you. Because while the super dream is great, it might still feel far off for you. So dream big, but set your own goals at your own level. Like, I should support this much in this way. You have to make that choice for yourself. Why? Because this is a long-term journey. If you just follow someone else, like, oh, the super dreamer did it this way, so I'll do the same, but it doesn't fit you, in the end, you'll end up saying you failed because of your sponsor. For example, I also take Chinese lessons, and my Chinese teacher really only teaches me as much as I put in the effort. It's a private lesson, you know. So sometimes we just end up chatting the whole time, and that's it. If all we do is chat, it's because I haven't done anything myself. So if there's nothing to teach and it gets boring, I might just quit. And even if I try to do a lot, my head just hurts and I can't understand. So sometimes we just end up chatting and that's it. But at first I thought, man, this feels like a waste of money. And that lingering sense of regret made me think I should do some homework next time. Thinking like that, I started to become more independent on my own. But my teacher also told me that studying is the same. Only those who try to do it on their own can truly be taught by a mentor. If you're not prepared and can't even understand what's being said, even if I keep spoon feeding you, telling you to do this or that, you might do well on a test for a moment, but you'll forget everything right after. He said he hates that kind of thing. By the way, he's a Tsinghua University graduate, really smart, from the School of Public Administration. So when it comes to studying methods, he always looks to see if someone can do things on their own or not. Every time I see how he teaches, I think, wow, this is exactly like the Atomy business. So since I know myself, if I didn't do my homework, what do I think then? Oh, right, I need to reflect on myself. Yes, since I didn't do it, there's nothing to teach. So repeat. Just keep repeating the same thing over and over. We can't move forward in the lesson. Why? Because I don't understand it. But when I reviewed the material, then I could add more details and teach other examples or different things. So what happens if I forget again? Then I review it again, get taught again. And as it really sinks in for me, what happens? It becomes my own. So even with Atomy, even though I teach it every day like this, how many people here do you think have actually put into practice what I said? Probably not many, but there are always a few people who really understand and take action. So I just need to work with those few people. Why? Because this is a business, you know? You don't need a lot of people. Even just one person who understands is enough. If you have just one person on each side who really gets it and you nurture them well and help them grow under you, then everything changes. Your whole life just completely transformed. We don't have a lot of talented people, right? So I always feel this too. You really don't need a lot of people. But what's great about Atomy is that there are no mandatory requirements, so the chances are higher. But if there are some mandatory requirements, then there's a barrier to entry. So what happens? The chances would be lower, right? That's why I always say you really should do Atomy, because as more and more talented people join, it could actually get harder. So right now is the best time and the best timing. For those at the very top, there will be people like that. So for those people's small achievements until they grow, I also need to set aside my own ambitions and run alongside them, waiting patiently. But if I get impatient and say, boss, do it like this, maintain quickly, so I can become a diamond master faster, so you can maintain as a sales master quickly, that's not the right approach. Why? This is my business, right? If I want to do it, then I should be the one to maintain it. That's the difference. Why? If someone who wants to do it does it, there's no problem. But if you force someone who doesn't want to do it, that's where problems arise. But the partner wants to do it too, and I want to do it too. Both of us are passionate about it. So what happens then? That's when you hit the jackpot. The speed just keeps building up, and then it can really take off. So what do you need to do to make that happen? Back in the day, Imperial Master told me that both sides were eager to move up in rank together, that they both wanted it so badly. But honestly, I didn't believe it at the time. Everything felt so far away and unreal, so I just couldn't believe it. But these days, what I'm realizing is that working together with me actually makes things go faster. After gaining some experience in hard science, you start to see that this path is quicker. So I feel like I need to pull my sponsors even more. Then the partners get even more passionate and work even harder. And then what kind of feeling do I get? Of course, I feel even more grateful. So what's happening to my sales right now? I'm seeing the results. So for some of you, my story might still feel very distant. Why is that? Because I've experienced that too. When the Imperial Master told me, when I became Imperial Master, it was all done with just 3 phone calls. It sounded so unrealistic to me. I thought Is that even possible? That's how it was. But these days, I realize that things really can be settled with just a phone call. Why? Because I know the whole situation. I know exactly how everything works, down to the smallest detail. That's why there are no problems. And when I see people competing in good faith saying they want to go together with me, I realize that partners who truly understand are starting to appear. So what happens then? It goes well. As healthy teams are out there working hard, what happens? As the number of people increases and sales go up, what happens? Everything runs very smoothly. This is exactly how you maintain a healthy organization. You get it, right? Today, I talked about 5 things, but in the end, the real focus should be at the very bottom. You need to pour about 80% of your energy into both ends, especially the very end. But usually, because that's the hardest part, people try to avoid it. They keep trying to just touch the top part. Why? Because with just a little effort, it's easy to maintain. But if you look 5 or 10 years down the line, even if things have just stayed the same, that's actually lucky. Usually the organization falls apart or gets even worse. So in the end, why do we do this? People say, I earn 2 million a month. But what does it matter if I make 2 million a month when my partner can do the same? What happens in the end? As people say, oh, this isn't making any money, they all end up dropping out. And even what was being maintained ends up falling apart even more. So until my partner truly builds a solid, reliable system income, I have to work like crazy and make it happen myself. That's why I try to do it. And since I'm always so driven, what happens then? All my partners are just as driven as I am. As a result, now even highly capable people have joined. And when they receive their pension, they realize that the 3 million they wanted is nowhere near enough. That's why many of them are working even harder at Atomy as an additional effort. Now, people who have retired or left their jobs are coming to me and visiting our center saying they want to do Atomy. That just shows how great of an opportunity Atomy is right now. So now, since I've paved the way, the partners who joined above me are also saying, it would be such a waste to just live like this. I have to succeed no matter what. So what does it all come down to? Because no one quit, new people kept joining, and those who were already here stayed, so things became even more solid. In the end, it means that no one ends up quitting the business. And it's the same for me as well. The reason I work so hard to make money is because, as our chairman says, he also needs to live well. Money isn't everything, but having a lot of money does make things a bit more convenient. So the reason I also try to earn more money is because, in a way, Atomy can sometimes be a source of pride, but also bring a lot of situations that hurt your pride. But I also make money because I want to do things my own way. Why? I want to set up meetings and schedules on my own time, and I want to nurture and develop people without having to beg or ask for favors. That's why I work so hard to make money. That way I can use my time more freely and comfortably, which is why I do it. So I have a very clear reason for making money. Why? Because I don't want to have to ask anyone for favors. But when people hear that I'm making money, they say, why do you only care about money? But that's not the reason. By earning more, I can help a wider range of people. And the important thing is, it's always about me. If I'm healthy, my team is healthy and everything goes well. But if I'm constantly chasing money, at first it's unavoidable because of living expenses, but later on it can actually harm my health. So since I'm doing this anyway, there are things that can't be changed. Accept those things and try to approach them as positively as possible. Because, if you keep dwelling on it, if you keep worrying about it and dragging it out for a long time, it becomes really exhausting. But what I felt was different about successful people is that because they have so much experience, even when they're shocked, every time something happens or an accident occurs, of course they're shocked. But when they experience a really big shock, it does hit them hard. But minor shocks don't really affect them at all. So they become calm, gain composure, and develop the wisdom to counsel others in a way that puts them at ease. But if you don't have any experience, when you suddenly get hit with some kind of shock, you end up having a mental breakdown. Then what comes to mind is, thank you. Wow, this really isn't easy. Do I really have to do this? You start wondering, should I do this or not? But fortunately, because I went through so many different things and all sorts of stories at a young age, compared to any privileged story, most shocks or blows just don't hit me as hard anymore. So I just stay calm. That's how it is. It doesn't bother me at all. But what about the other person? What should they do? They say, if you do it like this, it works out like this. That's what happens, but that's how it is for me too. How about you, Imperial Nim? You be more relaxed, right? You know more, you know the enemy well too. You just put on your glasses and handle it like this. But I don't know anything about germs or stuff like that. That's so overwhelming, isn't it? I get even more nervous. And when I get a call, I don't know what to say. But in Peril Nim, you've been through all sorts of things, and yet it doesn't bother you at all. You say, I'll look into it. That's because you've been down that road before. Back then, when that person hadn't experienced anything yet, they must have gotten hit with a huge tax bill too. That's why I'm always so grateful that I have sponsors above me who are experienced. But everyone, there's something like this. We study history, right? But this history, it's said that it keeps repeating itself. So people are grateful for history. They should learn from history and not repeat the same mistakes. But humans quickly forget and act the same way again. Wars have kept happening, right? Now people are worried, wondering if World War III will break out. Do you think it will happen or not? People get really anxious about it. Even though wars happened in the past, people forget again. But what do we gain from that? Humans adapt to their environment and survive again. Somehow we develop the wisdom and strength to survive no matter what. So, whether it was with Atomy or anything else, whenever I faced ongoing challenges, it felt so dark at the time. But in the end, that too passed. And when some time had passed, I realized, oh, so that's what happened. And I could see where I had made some mistakes. I thought I should have done that a little better. As I gained these realizations, my business became healthier and I developed more expertise. But it's better to mature a bit earlier in life. So right now, a lot of people in their 50s are joining Atomy. Many people in their 40s, especially those in their mid-40s to 50s, have joined. And since we're now in the era of living to 100, we all look about 10 years younger. People in their 50s look like they're in their 40s, those in their 40s look like they're in their 30s, and those in their 30s look like they're in their 20s. So if you're in your 50s now, you're basically in your 40s. So this is the perfect age to start an Atomy business. And since you might feel like you have some time now, don't take it slow. Prices are rising really quickly these days. But our wages aren't really going up much, are they? That's why I hope you'll take on Atomy as an additional venture and really do the business properly. Because as time goes by, you'll realize this. What I regret in a way is that if my mentor had guided me properly, I wouldn't have wasted so much money, time, age, and passion. There are so many things I feel I missed out on. But on the other hand, I also think, well, maybe because I've experienced everything myself, that's why I can say these things and give these lectures. I don't know, I just decided to be grateful for everything, whatever it is, and that's what I said. The conclusion is just accept everything as it is, everyone. For me too, about 80% of my days are clear and bright. But when you do this Atomy business, there are some cloudy days as well. Not often, but sometimes. So I try to think wisely, but still, I am grateful. After all, we're only human. And when people interact, sometimes clashes are inevitable. But each time, if you try to resolve things wisely, by considering the other person's perspective as well as your own, and working things out thoughtfully, it tends to work out. But you just need to keep this in mind. You want your partner to stay. So if you want to be treated well, what should you do? If I want to be treated well, was that called the golden rule? There's a saying that if you want to be treated well, you should treat others well first. Those of you who go to church probably know what I mean. So anyway, in the end, when I serve my partner, things go well for me too. But people who act out of selfishness and try to use their partners for their own gain, there hasn't been a single person like that who ended up doing well. If you just remember that, you'll do well, and the partner bosses around you will stick with you. Got it?